Drawing a stranger from the internet to play D&D with is like playing roulette. A lot of the people you find on there are normal people, but at the same time, these are the people who don't have anyone else to play with, and, well, sometimes there's a reason for that. In this story, a new D&D group invites an internet stranger to help lead them through their first campaign. Unfortunately, the internet is filled with creeps. They're not exactly hard to find. Just a brief content warning, this guy is a total predator. Anyways, sponsor. Yeah, let's do a sponsor. Are you ready to celebrate prehistoric science in your next campaign? Following the wildly successful Dr. Drolin's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, Professor Primula's portfolio of Palaeontology, the ultimate prehistoric supplement for your 5e tabletop adventures. Created by actual paleontologists, this book is accurate. It's packed to the pincers with overloads of scientifically backed prehistoric creatures from feathered dinos to ancient arthropods. Want to play as a pterosaur-inspired bard? Well, now you can. And a new design philosophy that in some ways deviates from 5e to create a more dedicated experience. As we all know, when evolution gets weird, it always comes back to crabs, so you can trust me on this. Back it now on Kickstarter and don't miss your chance to gatekeep it to new fans. You got in before it was cool. Click the link in the description, I'll see you. This all started when I posted an LFG ad during lockdown. Our little group was your classic pandemic Discord crew. E-boys and e-girls who did school online, built Minecraft houses, and voice chatted through our collective cabin fever. One of us had gotten into D&D and wanted to pull the rest of us in, so I made an LFG post to find new players. Only a few responses came in, but one stood out. The subject line of his message read, "God reborn, mirror priest, binder of bodies, on a quest to reincarnate himself." He was eager. He attached a detailed character sheet, a sketch of his character, and a 3-paragraph backstory that was short but full of flair. His character? A purple feathered Aarakocra cleric named Zerkek, supposedly a reincarnated god, trapped in mortal form by envious deities, who feared his unmatched beauty. Zerkek didn't serve a god, he was his own god. His stated mission? Return to the place where he was both born and died and use divine experience to spark his rebirth. Only by gaining experience in the field and rebirthing myself can I slowly reawaken my divinity. And here's the thing, he said he'd been playing D&D for over a decade. None of us were seasoned players. Our most experienced member was barely past their first campaign, so having someone knowledgeable? That sounded great. We didn't spot any red flags at first. Honestly, compared to some of the other applicants, he seemed relatively normal. He was not normal. From day one, he refused to turn on his camera. He said it was part of his character. Zerkek's face must remain unseen until the ascension. Not super weird. We were all strangers. Some people prefer anonymity online. Then came character creation. He argued that, since Zerkek was a god in mortal form, he should get a homebrew feat that granted extra HP and spell slots, scaling up per level. Basically, it gave him a compounding power boost as the campaign progressed. The DM, who was just as new as most of us, turned it down. So, Zerkek pitched a second feat as a compromise. Simpler. He said, it just made all of his spells cost 1 spell lower. Level 1 spells became cantrips, level 2 cost level 1 slots, and so on. That didn't sound too bad on the surface. The way he pitched it made it seem minor. All he said was, it's just a 1 level difference. We didn't fully grasp the mechanical consequences yet, so the DM gave it a green light. I would never blame a group that seems mostly new to the game, especially given that they're placing their trust in someone that's more experienced. That being said, yes, this is a total noob take. Here's why. Even though D&D levels go up to 20, spell slots only go up to level 9. So 1 spell level is a pretty huge deal. Being able to cast a 2nd level spell at level 1 is just broken. Even more broken is being able to cast first level spells as a cantrip. A cantrip is a spell that doesn't cost any spell slots at all, so you can effectively spam them as much as you like. Spells like Sleep, Healing Word, Jump, there's a reason these spells have costs, and it's because being able to cast them at will is game-breaking, as I'm sure we're about to see. The game opened with a devastated village, burned homes, lost lives, families grieving. As we investigated and tried to comfort survivors, Zerkek stepped forward. He fluffed his feathers, spread his wings wide, looked skyward, and announced, "Don't cry, mere mortals. My beauty will ease your sorrow." Silence. Then he used thaumaturgy to shimmer his tail feathers, striking a pose. Still, nobody responded. Zerkek seemed confused. What? Why weren't they enraptured? The DM explained they were traumatized villagers. Their homes were gone. They were not in the mood to admire a bird. So, Zerkek cast Charm Person on the entire crowd. The DM asked him to roll, but I pulled up the spell description out of curiosity. There it was, plain as day. A humanoid, singular, charm, person. Zerkek insisted that due to his custom feat, he could cast it freely over and over on everyone present. Then he clarified, "It's not seduction, it's divine outreach." None of us accused him of seduction. We were all just confused. Still, we were new. We didn't know how to handle this, so we let it slide in large part because it didn't change anything about the actual gameplay or quest. The scene continued as it was, just with villagers weirdly soothed by Zerkek's feathers rather than rebuilding. Session after session, he got under my skin more and more. Yeah, he technically knew the rules, but he bent or broke them constantly. He would, quote, forget to subtract HP when hit. He claimed he thought the attack missed. This happened often enough that I offered, half joking, half annoyed, to track his HP for him. He did not take that well. He accused me of calling him a cheater. I hadn't said it outright, but the shoe was starting to fit, so I watched closer, started looking up every spell he cast. He cast Cure Wounds twice in the same turn without the proper ability. When I called it out, he claimed he could. Problem was, even though he was rolling off screen, his rolls were so high they were mathematically impossible, even with modifiers. Every time I caught him, he would backpedal and paint me as the rules lawyer or the buzzkill. That's okay because I wasn't wrong, not once. This routine turned me into an unlikely rules expert. Just by watching his nonsense unfold and cross-checking the books, then asking him about them when there were discrepancies. Eventually, we pressured him into using the virtual tabletop roller like the rest of us. "Nah," he said. Alright, at this point, the game is dead. Lately, a lot of what we see from D&D is a collaborative storytelling process built on mutual trust that you're all trying to tell a story together. When that trust is broken, what are you even playing for? Sure, I've run games where some of my players would roll off screen, and while I don't prefer it, it's a special privilege I give to groups that I trust and played with for years, because I trust in two things. One, they wouldn't lie about it, but even in the rare case they might, our storytelling goals are aligned. Do I think they're gonna be deceitful? No. But even if they are, I know how they play and they wouldn't lie about a role to make themselves more awesome and powerful. It would be to make the story better whether they pass or fail. Anyways, for me as a player, I've never hidden my roles or used physical dice in an online game. I'm not knocking anyone who does, and I'm not saying they should be banned, but I imagine making some pivotal, unbelievable rolls, and then silently wondering if the other players thought I was lying. The answer? Have a second webcam that covers your dice rolls. Kidding. Anyways, off-screen dice rolls are only a definite bad idea under two circumstances: playing with total strangers and known cheaters. This guy's both. But after enough gentle nudges from me, from the DM, and from the others, he relented, and the cheating slowed. but not the weirdness. During long rests, he gave sermons every single night. One evening, he launched into a monologue. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was 10 minutes of phrases like, "I caught the first light. I held it. I loved it. I became it." And, "You were not created. You were reflected." Then, "I will plant the seed and rebirth myself." It ended with him standing, arms outstretched, waiting expectantly. "Now, embrace me. Become one with me." We were all sitting there in awkward silence. One party member broke the tension by asking the DM if his character can induce vomiting. He rolled a 4 on his constitution check. The DM said that he succeeded and took all of the attention in the room with him. "Oh jeez, I'd love to, but I ate a colorful frog and me no feel so good." Okay, goofiness aside, this is an amazing de-escalation tactic if you want to pop that bubble of tension without making anyone feel bad. You see it in interviews, especially when a person is being asked a question that they don't want to answer directly. The smart and quick people deflect with humor. In this case, nobody wanted to embrace or encourage this roleplay because it would set a precedent and they didn't know where it was leading. A lot of people would see only 2 options: embrace him and avoid conflict, or draw a line in the sand and close the door in his face. You also have to consider Zerkek's pride. If he's just left there holding the bag, it will make him look and feel isolated and weird. If the attention is drawn in a humorous direction, Zerkek can then save face and bow out. Does Zerkek deserve to be shut down? Probably, absolutely. But if the goal is being non-confrontational and shutting down a potential argument, this is a great way to do it. It doesn't solve the problem, but it buys you time while you figure out what exactly this guy is. Honestly, it's smart. Also, on a separate note, I just love that the DM wanted him to roll a low number to successfully vomit. I get that this DM is new, but that's really creative, and honestly, I think this DM has a lot of promise. It was ridiculous, but we needed the laugh. We took a hiatus for a couple of weeks after that to handle school stuff. The game seemed pretty normal for a while after that, but Zerkek only got more angry. He declared he would no longer heal any of us, and he meant it. When I dropped to 4 HP in combat and asked him for healing, he told me to say he is my salvation. So I refused. The more we mocked his god complex, the more upset he got. So we started tiptoeing. Then he tried to give us new names: Reflection, Prism, Mirror Blade. We didn't respond. Not rudely, just awkwardly. None of us wanted to adopt weird cult names for characters we spent time building. We would talk in whispers when he wasn't around, but we genuinely tried to be inclusive. We were all neurodivergent teens, and we thought the same of him, until the final session. By now, whenever he wasn't around, we would occasionally talk among ourselves about him and how strange he was. But we were an understanding group, and all of us were neurodivergent teens, so we figured he is likely neurodivergent as well. So we tried to be accommodating. That came to an end next session. The DM felt some responsibility for how he treated Zerkek. After we dragged him into rolling online, shut him out of roleplay, stopped giving him any benefit of the doubt when it comes to cheating, and we took away his overpowered feat, he came across as a bit gutted. The DM wanted to rope him back into the flow of the game, so he created a side quest where Zerkek can finally reincarnate as a god. The party discovered a ruined temple, a cracked statue of a feathered Aarakocra. Zerkek recognized it immediately. He was ecstatic. He approached it reverently. For a moment, it was kind of sweet. Maybe he would finally have a normal RP moment. Then he unbuttoned his shirt and pressed his bare chest to the stone and whispered, "You are my mother and my son." Okay, A little awkward, but whatever. He roleplayed his character getting very close to the statue, touching it gently, caressing it. This was weird, but roleplay can be awkward sometimes, right? The awkwardness we feel is just us being new to roleplay, right? Then Zerkek turned on his camera. The room was dark, except for dim light glinting off his skin. He was pale, gaunt, hairless, no shirt. His eyes were glassy and distant. He looked much older than expected. Maybe late 30s? Maybe just weathered. It felt wrong, like we weren't supposed to be seeing this. One of his shoulders jerked, like he was pulling and pushing. We didn't understand what we were looking at first. Then it clicked. He was getting off, on camera. We all left the call. The DM banned him immediately. Less than 30 minutes later, he messaged everyone, notably excluding me and the DM. Copy-pasted, word for word, I get that Zerkek's divine sensuality may be overwhelming. If you ever want to explore a side session where we can properly ascend, let me know. I won't call him a predator, but still, we were all high schoolers. He wasn't. We blocked and reported him. It soured D&D for us. We haven't played as a group since, but I went on to play in 2 campaigns, and I love it. It's okay, OP. You don't have to call him a predator, because I will. I think I get what OP might be saying. That this guy wasn't specifically searching for minors to include in his erotic roleplay, so maybe he's not a textbook predator. But there isn't really a gray area for this type of person, and that's important to know. You don't have to be deliberately targeting minors, but when you knowingly wank on them, that's definitely enough to qualify you as a predator. It's illegal, it's terrible, it's all that. Just choosing to do this in front of people who happen to be minors is not better than deliberately targeting minors. Till next time.